Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Well, this week's project is a steam box. We're going to be building a simple steam box so we can do some wood bending here in the future. I've got a couple of projects in mind that I want to do, but they require wood bending. Now, in order to kind of expedite my process so I can get to the bending more so than the building, I went ahead and purchased a simple steam bending kit from Rockler. First thing I'm going to do is I've got two of my boards I'm going to set aside. They're going to be my top and my bottom. They are already 7 1/4 inches wide, 4 foot length, so they're done. Now I need to go ahead and rip down my sides, and I'm going to rip them down to 5 3/4 in width, and they're already cut down to their 4 foot in length. Now that the two sides are cut to width, I've got them laying side by side here because I'm making marks on them every 5 inches, and I want the marks to be identical on both sides. What we're going to do here is we got to drill some holes for some dowels, and there's going to be dowels that extend from one side to the other that will help raise our strips of wood or whatever we're steaming off of the bottom of the box. It'll allow that steam to go all around those pieces of wood. So what I basically did is I started from one end off 3 inches and then made a mark, and then from there every 5 inches. With my fence set up on the drill press, it will ensure all my holes will be in line. All I have to do is make sure that I land on the crosshairs. Alright, now that I have one of the sides screwed to the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and set my other side in place, and I'm going to determine a measurement. I'm going to get a measurement for how long I need to cut my pieces of dowel stock down to. When it comes to the dowels, as I said, I'm using 3/4 inch dowels, and I am not going to be gluing them into the holes that I pre-drilled in both sides. With all that heat, steam, and moisture that's being generated, I want things to be able to expand and contract and be able to move freely, so I'm definitely not going to glue these into place. Alright, I've installed all the dowels into the side that I don't have screwed on yet. And the biggest challenge of this box is going to be making sure all of the dowel holes line up and getting them into place at the same time. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Now that I have everything pressed into place, I can go ahead and flip it over and screw the other side down. Now I'm going to make sure when I screw the other side down that everything is in line before I set the screws, and then we'll get the top side on. Alright, basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the clamps and kind of pressing the sides in until they're flush with the top, and then I'm working my way down, pre-drilling and screwing these holes. Once I have all of them screwed together, then I can flip it over and put the top on. Okay, well here's the box with the sides screwed on. These dowels, as I said, they're going to act as a riser. So when I take my strips and I put them in this box, they're going to lift them up off the bottom of the box so the steam can generate all the way around them and get good penetration and stuff. So that's the only purpose for the dowels. The clamps on the box, all they're doing is they're just lining everything up and keeping everything in line while I pre-drill and screw. Since there is no glue, there's no clamping required. All they are just some extra hands for me. Alright guys, so there is the box. That's the basic construction. Now we need to go ahead and work on the back and the front. Now the back and the front, the back is where the steam hose is going to go into. It's also where the condensation, the water that builds up into the box, where it's going to run out of. So on that back panel, we're going to drill a hole for that water to run out of, and we're also going to drill a hole for the hose to fit into it. All the fittings came with that kit. Now we're getting into the hardware part of the kit. On the rear panel, we need to go ahead and drill a 9/16 hole is what it recommends. I'm using a 1/2 inch bit here because I want to be able to thread in the brass fitting and have a snug, secure fit. The brass fitting needs to be installed before the rear panel is screwed to the back of the box. Alright, so on the back side of the box where we just screwed the back into place, on the bottom where the bottom meets the back panel, I went ahead and drilled a small hole. Now I used a 7/32 drill bit for this to create like a condensation drip hole. Because the box is going to be built at an incline when we put the legs on it, that water, as the steam generates water and moisture and condensation and everything, it'll allow that condensation to run towards the back and drip out this little drip hole. Now as I said, I used a 7/32 drill bit for this. If I find that the hole is not quite big enough for the condensation to drip out and everything, I'll increase it, but I didn't want to go too big to start with. Alright, before we assemble the lid or put the lid on with the hinges and the hardware that actually came with the kit, the steamer kit, the one thing that I did is I took some 1/8 inch weather stripping, just regular weather stripping, and I put it in here. Now on the print it shows the weather stripping on the door. I put it on the box here. Doesn't matter. Alright, so now I can go ahead and get it in place. Now I haven't drilled the hole for the vent hole yet that goes at the top. I'll do that after I get the hardware on it. But now that I have this weather stripping and everything on here, I want to just kind of press it down and seal it so when I get my hinges in place I can screw them on. So I'm just going to set the box up here, and we'll get them screwed in place, get that door on, get the hardware on. Then we'll get some legs put on this thing, and I'm just going to say this and I'll get to work. The front leg is going to be taller than the back leg, so the box sits at a small incline so that condensation can roll out. I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so with the hinges on, we can go ahead and install the clasp, and this is the clasp that comes in the hardware. It's just a simple latch clasp that has a little hook and everything, just quick and simple. One single one. I want to go ahead and get the hook part of it on the door, and then I want to position this to where when this clasp locks down, it's going to pull that door tight and seal it with that weather stripping and everything. Alright, now I'm going to put the second screw in. So when the door is closed, this clasp can hook, and you want it to be in a position to where when it locks down it snaps. And that's going to pull it in and seal up that weather stripping real well. And that completes our box. Alright, with the box assembled, now I can go ahead and focus on the feet. In the plan that came with the kit, it called for the feet to be inset to a set of dados. A couple of dados cut on the bottom of the box, and the feet fit right in there because the feet are cut out of the same stock as the size of the box. Well, I decided I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to cut dados, and I didn't want to do all that. I wanted to just use pocket holes, and I'm going to pocket hole screw the feet on place. Quick and simple. So if I wanted to do dados, if you want to follow the plan, if you happen to buy this kit or whatever, cut your dados into your bottom piece before you assemble the box. Okay? Alright. Over at the drill press, I've got one of the cutoffs from the box sides, as well as a 4-inch hole saw installed. This will allow me to drill a hole right in the center of this board that I can later split to create the two legs. Alright, our steam box is nearly complete. We just have 2 more holes to drill. The first one is going to be at the top so that this thermometer can fit inside so I can regulate the temperature, and this is just a standard meat thermometer. And the second hole is in the door close to the top, and it's a vent hole. With those holes drilled, everything is complete. Now it's time to go ahead and set everything up. I went ahead and filled my reservoir to the maximum fill line, and I've got the hose here. The hose simply screws on to the front of the reservoir and falls all over the place. And with a lot of length, it gives you a little bit of mobility of where you can place this. And the other end of the hose hooks to the brass connector that we put in the back panel. So now with the hose connected, there's only one thing left to do, and that's a test run to see if I have any steam leaks anywhere that I may need to seal up. Now the reservoir, as I told you, I filled it up to its maximum water line, and I used hot water to fill it with to speed up the heating process. With everything ready to go, I can go ahead and plug that in. We'll get this thing steaming. As the temperature in the reservoir begins to heat up and steam begins to fill the box, we're already at 160 degrees and climbing. Now I'm going to continue to monitor the temperature as well as the box, checking for any problems or steam leaks. So far so good. If the test is successful, we're good to go for a steam bending project next week's video. Well, that wraps up this video for this week. I hope you enjoyed it and thank you for sticking with me. If you happen to be new to the channel, please take a minute and subscribe. I put out a new woodworking project every week. As always, if you like the video, please leave a comment, give me a thumbs up. Well, until next week, guys, I'll see you soon. Oh, and hey guys, I've got some exciting news. Stay tuned for a follow-up coming soon. So now with the hinges on, we can go ahead and put the clasps that come in the hardware, and it's basically just a... Come on, open.